Hello, everybody. Good morning. How are you? Nice to see you all. Wow, there's a lot of camera phones out, and it's exactly what I just wish I had my phone so I could take a selfie with the man. Firstly, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Arsène Wenger to this event. One of the all-time greats, if not the greatest. It's such an honour for me to be speaking to you, Mr. Wenger. Thank you for coming today. I want to take you back to when you get the job at Arsenal, because now, of course, you're considered one of the greatest coaches of all time. But back then, the headline was Arsène who? Nobody knew who you were. And I wonder, when you come into a club like Arsenal and no one knows who you are, does that give you added pressure that no one knows who you are? Or is it almost less pressure because no one knows who you are, so there's less pressure on you?
First of all, good morning, everybody. I hope there are a few Arsenal supporters here. Well, yes, I arrived in a skeptical environment. It was Arsène who, and I came from Japan, that was not had a great reputation for being a football country. And on one side, I thought I had nothing to lose, because the players were skeptical. Who is this guy who looks like a professor and wants to teach us how to play football in England, who created the game?
Yeah.
You know? It's like an English guy going to Bordeaux and telling them how to make the wine. And so I was a bit in that position. The media was skeptical. I had the support of the board, and I thought I have a few games, you know.
Yeah.
And overall, I'm convinced, in hindsight now, looking back, that to be a leader is as well to have a capacity of persuasion. It's maybe one of the most important qualities, is to persuade people that you can lead them and find a way to win football games.
But you were confronted with quite a lot because, of course, you were met with a very British dressing room. And, you know, at the time, Tony Adams, the captain, was coming out as an alcoholic. Paul Merson was leaving. He had famed sort of drug addiction. You were confronted with a precious situation where, if the story is true, when you're on the coach on the way back, they used to sing, "Give us our Mars bars back," because you confiscated their chocolate.
They were singing all together.
Yes. So tell me about the British style of player that you were confronted with and how you met that head on.
Well, first of all, when I arrived, all these guys, they were men who had grown up in lower clubs, lower leagues. They were men. They were all between 30, 32 at the end of a career. When you inherit a team of players around that age, you have a bomb in your hand. Because to tell them all, it's over for you. To convince somebody that is not good enough anymore doesn't work well. So I thought I have to take them as far as I can and replace them slowly. But on the other hand, they were all intelligent guys. And I tried to convince them that if they listen to me, they can extend their career. For them to extend their career 1 or 2 years was a question of millions of pounds. And so they believed they had the chance if they listened to me. And then you have to win. What gives you credit in our game is to win games. And we started to win games. And I thought, finally, this guy, we don't know if he's good or not, but we win games.
Yeah.
And so I was a completely different style. And slowly, every win makes you stronger in the football team. And that's why slowly I gained their confidence, even if I faced harsh critics from the media at the start.
The thing that you had a huge impact on was the style of football. Arsenal was always boring Arsenal, and suddenly you came on and we were playing with style that no one recognised at our football club. What was the level of importance for you between winning versus how we won?
Well, you need to give clarity to your team, to explain to them how you want to play the game. I'm a more offensive coach. That means somebody who wants people to express their talent. I convince them that if they follow the way I see the game, they can become better, they can enjoy it as well. Because I never feel that you can last a long time if it's only work. Work has to be mixed with fun, with enjoyment, with capacity to express your talent. Everybody in life wants to express his talent, and I always try to identify one dominant quality. I think one of the, in coaching, one of the big qualities is the capacity to observe people and detect what is their dominant quality. We make all our life with one dominant quality. None of us has everything. So you have to find, how can this guy survive? Where can I get him to express his talent? And if the players meet their needs in the team, that means they feel comfortable to express their talent, you have a chance. And I always try to find that.
But you always saw football, unlike so many others, especially in the English game at that time, you saw football almost as an art form.
Yes.
But that was very. But English football was very an up and atom sport, and you came at it. But you really.
It was based on numbers and efficiency, but I feel that everything, when it becomes gets close to being beautiful, becomes an art. When the art is collective, it's even more beautiful to watch. But why do you love the game, Ben? Because you want to see something that surprises you. When I watch a football game and I can predict every pass, it becomes a boring game. When I see a football game and some people surprise me by what they do, it becomes beautiful. And then it becomes an art, a creative art, because that's what art is about, something that you love. What is beautiful is something that you want to see again. And overall, today we go all to the games to be surprised by the result, but as well by actions of individual players who do something that looks like art. Because at the end of the day, sport is to do with your body what your brain wants. You know? And we are not all equal in front of that, because it depends on our deep coordination. Today, my brain wants, but my body doesn't respond.
Same.
And in a top-level sport is to do with your body what your brain wants, but then you have to encourage your brain to express creative talent. Creativity is most of the time the consequence of hard effort and deep concentration. But you have as well to encourage the initiative. And then when everybody has that in a football team, you sometimes you leave not for 90 minutes, but for 2-3 minutes at a level that you enjoy.
I want to talk about the FA Cup for you. You hold the record as the coach who's won the FA Cup more than any other, 7 times, which is an incredible record. But the FA Cup was also very personal to you due to your upbringing, and I understand that it was one of the only games that you were able to watch as a child. I'd love to take us back to your...
I don't know, I have a love story with the Cups because I won the Cup in every country I worked. But yes, it's linked with the fact when I was a kid, we had to bring a bit of money to the school and we could watch the Cup final in England. I remember it was Wembley, it was a white ball. I have as a kid, you know, that created my dream. So for me, my first dreams came, of course, through the English game, the British game. And when I walked the first time into Wembley, it was something really special for me. I had the luck to go many, many times to Wembley then, but it was always a special moment. And I feel that a stadium that you have 80,000 people were 40,000 on each side, blue and red, or yellow and red, you know. We won always the red at Wembley.
You did.
And so it was always a special moment.
Do you, when you look back on your time at the Arsenal, do you remember more the successes or the ones that got away?
I speak today to many top-level sports people who achieved much more than I did in their sport. And it is funny, but everybody remembers only the defeat. To world champion in boxing, to Moses who won 400 meters for 10 years in a row, they only remember the moment they have lost the race they could have won. And I feel that for the rest of your life you have to live with what you have not done and be a little bit positive about it as well. You know, it's part of it, but you never forget. A defeat is something that is terrible, really terrible. When you're a coach, you drive home and you lost the game, and the longer you stay, the worse it becomes, because you feel responsibility towards people who had hoped to come to the game. I always said to the players, no, when the fan gets up in the morning at 8 o'clock and his team plays in the afternoon, he has at least, we have to give him the hope that he will see something special. When you disappoint them and you go back home and you're responsible for that, that's not easy. So you have always, the first 24 hours, you are in denial. You think, it's not possible. No, we have not lost that game. It's impossible. And then you become aggressive. It's his fault. It's his fault. You look who is guilty in there. And then, because you have a game again, you have to communicate, motivate again. So you go always through these stages, and they are really difficult. I would say that it's really difficult. To lose football games is difficult.
Well, you should know that for the fan base and the supporters, we don't remember the losses. The losses we needed to truly enjoy the highs, because when it comes to 97 or 02 or the Invincible 2004 or the 7 FA Cups, those are the things that we remember, and we enjoyed them more in a way from the scars that we got along the way from them.
Yes, but you always, even if you have success, you know, people want always more. And you get used to success, and if the success is not there anymore, I always worked with 3 priorities in my life. And the first, I thought, the biggest influence I had is I always was trying to influence the structure, the size, and the values of my club. My first thinking was always, every time, is this good for my club? Do I have to make this decision for my club? The second was always the way I wanted to play the game and the results of the game and the consistency of the club at the top level. And the third influence was always, how can I influence people's life individually, their career as a player? And you had always these 3 things you have in your mind. But the first priority was always to take care of the club. And I say today, honestly, I sacrificed 10 years of my career for the club to do what was first priority for the club, is to build a new stadium, to pay the stadium back, and to remain at the top. Because when we built the stadium, it did cost 428 million, and we started with the idea it will cost 220. So that means we were locked in to pay back the convicted, basically, to 50% of our turnover could only be wages. That we had to be in the Champions League every year.
Yeah.
And we just managed to do it, you know.
You did. I want to take a question from one of the players that you had such an impact on, and that's Ian Wright, who sent this video to us. A question for you.
Hey boss, how you doing? I hope the Q&A is going well. I've got a question for you. The question is, where did you find the empathy for players. I had so many managers that everything was shouting and screaming. Where did you find that empathy that made everything calm? Where'd you get that from?
Where did you get that calm from? The empathy that you show for players? You know, when you look at some of your rivals.
I was the youngest manager at 33 years of age in France in the top league. And at that time, we had no 20 assistants, I was alone. And I personally, when I was a kid, I never felt that I was a leader. And it's other people who pushed me always in this position. When I was a player, people came to see me, what do you think, and what do you think? And when at the age of 30, I became very quickly coach. And at 33, I was in the top league in France. And in the first period of my life as a coach, I felt I will never survive. Because I was too emotional, I suffered too much. Sometimes a tough time, I told myself, come on, stop that. You will never survive in this job. And slowly, I managed to dominate my emotions and not to show anymore who I am really. Because how I looked outside was not how I felt inside. And if I let it go, I could become very brutal. And I was conscious that I could do some damage to my job, you know, to be too aggressive with the players, too demanding, too excessive. And I learned, because I was in a job at a very young age, I learned to dominate my emotions. And that's why I looked like that.
Wow. And it's amazing when you look at other managers today, there's so much emotion on the sidelines, and you really did. You held it together. As fans, we loved it occasionally when you got wound up, so wound up that like you couldn't do up your coat or whatever it was. That was how it emerged within you. But you were such a contained man, even though with everything that was going on, and with your rivals, Ferguson and Jose Mourinho at the time, who would not hold their passion.
Yeah, but when I exploded, it was always...
it was great. We loved it, yeah.
When I exploded, it was always excessive. And I learned as well, you know, because I worked in Japan as well, where they dominate their emotions a lot. So I feel it can be very dangerous. And for the continuity of my job, I believe as well a leader needs some qualities. That means consistency in his behavior. When you say one day to your players, we want to do that, and the next day, because you lost a game, you say completely opposite, the players lose confidence in you. You lose credibility. And this is one of the most important things for the leader, is a consistency in his beliefs and his behavior. It is as well a capacity to create intimacy, you know, that you can connect with individual people. When you sit down with them face to face, he believes that you're honest. He believes that you come out with your truth. So these two things together to create trust are absolutely vital. And I'm convinced as well that for me, basically, why I behave like that is I believe that fear is the mother of all evil, especially in top-level sport. People never reach their full potential because of fear. Am I good enough for that? Can I do that? And I discovered with the Invincibles that the capacity to raise above your ego is as well when the fear not to be good enough disappears. And we traveled to the games for 1.5 years. We didn't lose a game because when the fear disappeared, everybody put suddenly his talent at the service of the team. And what was the most interesting for me, I discovered that the ego, that you need ego, but the ego became positive because everybody wanted to bring his qualities to the collectivity. And when you win and lose, everybody tries a little bit to protect himself and think it's not my fault, you know, and it becomes a bit more individualistic. And the most interesting thing I discovered during that period was that, basically.
Let's move on to talking wider football. You obviously have this senior role now at FIFA. I'm interested to know from you, what do you think, looking at football over the next 10 years, 15 years, what are the changes that you're expecting to see in the game?
Well, recently at the Congress in Vancouver, I spoke about that a little bit. I believe that the next player of a generation will be a guy who is technically perfect. He's both right-footed and left-footed because you have less time to make decisions. You need to very quickly to get when you're in an angle of a pass available. You need a very short technique. I believe as well that the modern player will be very agile, very mobile, light on his feet. He'll be somebody who has a good balance between physical power and technical intelligence, tactical intelligence. And certainly as well, because sport becomes more and more important in society, somebody who is equipped mentally to deal with stressful situations. And basically, if you want to make it as simple as possible, somebody has mastery and effectiveness in all conditions, internal or external, you know, because sometimes the players, they say, oh, yes, I lack confidence at the moment, but when you say you lack confidence, basically, to be a professional is the capacity to express your talent in all conditions. Are they comfortable or not comfortable? And that's something that certainly will be demanded in the future. People want the guarantee of performance. That creates a lot of stress because you don't have full control of your performance. The expectation level is very high of you. So that creates, of course, a tension. And this tension, you have to need the capacity to deal with that.
Let me ask you about one of the more controversial things within football at the moment, which is video assistant refereeing, the VAR. Has that been a good thing for the game or not?
I'm overall if you want to be fair, you have to make as many good decisions as possible. And so the VAR helps to make better decisions.
But does it stop referees
making
decisions?
The VAR helps as well against corruption. You know, not all the leagues are like the English leagues, and in some, I believe, the capacity to control the decisions of the referees are vital, and so that helps as well. Nobody talks about it because it's not politically correct, but overall, I think it helps a lot for prevention. With AI, we will be capable to make quicker decisions. The offside will be semi-automated at the next World Cup, so the quick decisions on the offside will be better and quicker. It's a bit, people reproach VAR to be a bit anti-emotional because you cannot let your happiness or...
Yeah, you celebrate, but only half.
You celebrate and you have to stop to celebrate and then you can celebrate again, but it's not the same celebration when the spontaneous one.
That's right.
And I agree completely with that. It has disadvantages, but overall, if today you take the VAR off, people will say, where's the VAR?
Or that would have happened different if it was VAR. I'm going to come to the audience in case there's any questions from the audience. So raise your hand and I'll come to you. Just as people put their hands up as the microphones go around the room, tell us about what your feeling is about the World Cup. How are you feeling about the World Cup? What do you think England's chances are in the World Cup? Who are the teams that you're looking out for?
No, today the two best teams in the world are France and Spain. And England is just a little fraction behind, but good enough to create a surprise and win the World Cup. There are, for me, 1 and 2, maybe France and Spain potential-wise. And 3, 4 and 5, you have England there. So that means we have a big chance. It is for the first time that we have 48 teams, so there's one more knockout stage. And what we have seen with the Under-17 World Cup at 48 teams is that the capacity to remain a team longer than the others will certainly make a difference with 48 teams. and the capacity as well to deal with all the traveling that you have, you know, it's not easy.
Mr. Wenger, you so rarely give interviews. With the 60 seconds we've got left, you so rarely speak about anything other than the way you look at football. I want to do a quick fire round, but it's got to be quick. And I want it to be on other things other than football. Your favorite music, favorite musician?
Oh, favorite music, I was a fan of Elton John for...
Elton John, I love it. Favorite restaurant?
My favorite restaurant is a restaurant in Nice called La Petite Maison.
Oh, it's a beautiful place. Favorite television show? I can't imagine you sitting back and watching television, but if you did, what are you watching?
My favorite television show is only football, my friend. I'm sorry.
I love that. There's no other answer. Who is the best player that you never got to coach?
Certainly Lionel Messi.
It's a good answer. How close were you to coaching Cristiano Ronaldo?
Very, very close. And in fact, when Fabregas came, Fabregas is born 87. Messi is born 87. And Piqué born 87. We contacted all the three to come to Arsenal. And Ronaldo, it was done. But in between, he played a friendly game against Man United. And Carlos Queiroz was assistant of
Portuguese assistant, man.
Ferguson. And he was from Sporting. And he has a shirt at home of Arsenal, Ronaldo. The deal was done for 4 million.
He's the one that got away. Where is the place that you are happiest?
Here in my house in London.
Beautiful. Final question. People often ask if you could have dinner with any 3 people in the world. My answer is always Arsène Wenger and then 2 people who won't show up, so I can just have dinner with Arsène Wenger. What 3 people would you most like, alive or dead, to have dinner with?
I lost my sister and my brother very early, and I would love to have a dinner with them and to tell them how much I love them, because I was never there. They complained always, and I was the youngest brother. So I would like just to tell them how much I love them.
That's a beautiful answer. Mr. Wenger, you truly, there is no leader like you. You changed the game of football. You had no funding of which to do it. You played with a style that we'll never forget. You found players from absolutely nowhere who went on to be world beaters. And so few people in this world can say that they changed a sport. But you, sir, changed the biggest sport of all. Ladies and gentlemen, Arsène Wenger.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Come on, you've done it.
Come on, you've done it.